In this episode, we're discussing unhappiness at midlife. It seems, to varying degrees, we're all experiencing this midlife malaise, and yet we're also ashamed of feeling this way. We can feel very alone, even if we're surrounded by people day in, day out. This leads to isolation and feeling like there's no point to it all.
So we're on a mission to destigmatise being unhappy at midlife, because not only is it normal, but incredibly common. We need to bring compassion and understanding as to why this is happening, with tools to navigate us through the challenging times.
We hope this podcast serves as a reminder to us all that we're not alone and fills your heart with some hope that things can and will shift for you.
Hi, I'm James Davis.
And I'm Claire Davis.
We're the Midlife Mentors, here to lift the lid on how to achieve health and happiness.
The balanced, no-nonsense way.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Midlife Mentors with me, James.
And me, Claire. We're really excited to be here today. We're a little bit late on it. It's going to go out ASAP. But we're really excited to be sharing with you some thoughts around midlife and why we are so unhappy. And not to say that we're all unhappy, but this has come from a TikTok video that I did a few days ago, which has gone absolutely crazy. I mean, it's clearly touched a lot of people out there. And some of the comments I've been reading, I think there's about 1,000 comments now on this one post around midlife and being unhappy. And some of those comments have really, really touched James and myself. Like, I've been reading them out to James and I'm like, my goodness, there are a lot of people out here that feel exactly the same. And I think we can feel very, very isolated at this time of our life, like we're completely alone in these thoughts and these feelings and these emotions. But I think this podcast today is really, really to try to help people understand, to bring more compassion to themselves, and also, as we always do, give some actionable tools that people can take away to start lifting how they're feeling, really. Because, it really has impacted me quite deeply.
It's amazing, actually. It's amazing to see the response. I mean, literally thousands and thousands of comments on it, and there's like certain themes running through it, so it's amazing to see. Before we get into that, what have we been up to? Been ice swimming. So it's been so cold here in London. We've had a big storm last night. It's actually, the temperature's shot up by about 20 degrees almost. It was -5, and we've got 12 now.
Yeah.
So what, 17 degrees?
Well, we were swimming in ice.
Yeah, so the ponds were iced over and there was a little hole, so we're getting into that. I think the water was about 2 degrees. It was so good, so exhilarating.
It was a little bit of a surprise as I was swimming there on Saturday morning and bumping into bits of ice. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. So we've been doing that, and we've been really heads down and really excited. We're going to be launching a new 10-day program.
We are indeed.
Really excited about that, because we do know that sometimes we're going to talk about this actually, we don't have enough we tell ourselves we don't have enough time to prioritise ourselves, and we've kind of forgotten how to prioritise ourselves. And so basically we wanted to create something that was just a 10-day boost. That's what we're calling it, a 10-day midlife boost, because you might just need that real quick injection of some really healthy habits, really getting yourself back together, really finding your midlife mojo again, resetting yourself, and finding that motivation with the accountability as well. So we're putting that together at the moment. If you want to get on the waiting list for that, the link is going to be in the show notes, because we're going to be giving you something really, really super special from being on the waiting list, and you'll be the first to know all the details when it goes live, before it goes live to the public.
And when is it going live, Claire?
It is going live. We're launching it on the 5th of February, but doors will open a couple of days before that.
Okay, awesome.
Yay!
Excited for that one. So excited. We've done loads of work on it and been building it. Really excited for that.
Yes, we really, really are. And had a lovely response from that too. So I suppose, without further ado, let's dive into midlife and being unhappy.
Yeah, this is quite an interesting one. Actually, I just wrote an article for someone on this as well, on a similar theme. It's so interesting, isn't it? We talk about this a lot. When we're younger, we look ahead at midlife and think, oh, by the time I'm there, everything will be sorted. I'm going to be on top of the world. I won't have any worries. I'll be financially secure, pinnacle of my career, settled relationship, all that stuff. But then when we get there, we find that's not actually the case. So I think there's this element of feeling like a little bit cheated for some people.
Duped is the word I love. Duped.
Or it can be, I think, a natural time of reflection as well, and looking back, and we start to think of all the could-ofs, should-ofs that could have taken us in different directions. It could be that we have achieved some of the things we wanted, or most things we wanted, but we're still not happy. Or it could be like we're just not where we thought we would be. And with that can come this feeling of feeling unhappy, ungrateful. I say even like a lot of comments are kind of like a lot of apathy. You said it's a slow walk to my death from here, which was one that really struck us.
Yeah, and I think it's that midlife malaise is what I said as well. And I think what happens is we really want to get my words out. We really want to change the narrative around this, because what happens is we do feel so super isolated. Some of the comments that I've seen, and we just know this from having worked with midlifers for so many years now, is it might look like we've got all of our shit together. We look like we've got the perfect life from the outside, and yet we still don't feel happy. We don't feel grateful. And there's a lot of shame and a lot of guilt that comes from that, because we see what else is going on in the world, and we're like, why can't I be happy? What is wrong with me? What's going on? Why do I feel so depressed? And often we don't feel, it's not like we've gone into what I would, I suppose, describe as like a clinical depression, but there's just this lack of sparkle in our life. We've just completely lost it. There's boredom. We feel numb. We feel like we've got no direction. We feel like we're on Groundhog Day. Like, what's the point? We might have lost our self-identity. We've been putting everyone, our kids, our job, everything first for such a long time, and we've totally lost our own self-identity in all of that.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? That the feelings that come out are quite the same, whether the route has been quite different. So some people have been in that real striving place, like, I'm so career focused, I'm going for it. They've accumulated all those material things they thought they wanted, but they still feel this way, and they have that shame around that. It's like, I've got the big house, I've got the car, but I'm just not happy. But yeah, like you say, look, other people have kind of just drifted through life, and they're like, it's this kind of awareness of like, oh, I've wasted so many years, I'm not where I want to be. And again, but there's still that shame around that. So it's quite interesting. There were lots of different routes to get there, routes to the forest, but it takes you to the same place ultimately, of kind of this unhappiness, shame around feeling unhappy, and this feeling of almost boredom and kind of fed up of life.
Yeah, and actually, really interestingly, a lot of people on that post said, well, okay, so we know we're not alone. This is really helpful. Like, honestly, some of those comments were like, oh my goodness, I thought I was completely alone in this. That's why I'm really emotional about this, because James and I are on an absolute mission to, I suppose, destigmatise this feeling that we have at midlife, that we are somehow on our own with this. And because we feel like that, we just isolate, and we don't talk to anyone else about it, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And we want to open up the narrative to this so that we can actually start helping other people come together. I mean, community, we're going to talk about that, is so, so important.
Exactly. So I think we're going to come on to, and I know that's been probably maybe quite negative, we're going to come on to why it's happening. So I think if we understand what are some of the drivers behind this, we can then bring awareness to it. But before we do that, we're going to look at what happens if we don't address it, right?
Yes.
This is what's going on. People are addressing what's happening for them, so they end up taking what I'd call distraction behaviours. So we self-medicate. We might throw ourselves into work so much that we ignore our family. Conversely, we might just like self-sabotage by stepping back from work, putting it all in our family, and end up losing our job. We might turn to drink, we might turn to drugs. It could be affairs, sex. We'll keep convincing ourselves, I'll just take that luxury holiday and then everything will be all right. But all it does is, make you feel good for 2 weeks and then feel worse when you get back.
Yeah, and it's just that avoidance technique, and it's so easy in the world that we live in right now just to keep distracting ourselves. Like, we can actually just do it in a split second. Oh, I don't like the way I'm feeling, I'm going to ignore that, I'm going to jump on my phone. So like our phones are the perfect distraction techniques. But what we're going to talk about here is why we're feeling like that. Social media is actually the worst thing that we want to guide ourselves to when we're feeling. Having said that, obviously the video is on TikTok. So, you know, it is helpful in a sense. And I have really realised that I can be quite negative sometimes around social media and its negative effects. But what I would say is it has brought this whole community of people together through that TikTok video. But yeah, disassociation, just buying more things, self-medicating, doing other things just to avoid this feeling of pain that we don't know what to do with, because actually there's always been something to help us guide it through. And now at midlife there seems this real crunch point where we're like, actually, I'm trying to hide from it, I'm trying to run from it, but I'm finding even that really hard right now. It's almost like I can't get through that either.
I think what could be helpful if you're brave enough sometimes to look at this. So my challenge to you listeners is, you know, what behaviours are you aware of that you're taking that is a distraction, that when you're feeling bad or uncomfortable, what is it you're doing? Is it hopping online and shopping? Is it reaching for the wine bottle? Is it, you know, messaging someone? Is it going into social media? What are those behaviours you're doing? And then actually take a step from that. Like, what's the feeling that you're trying to escape when you go to those behaviours? Because we're always trying to escape a feeling. Now that feeling, it could be unhappiness, it could be boredom, but what is that feeling? So once we understand what that is, then we can start to look at what we can do to change it.
And it is so easy to become insular, isn't it? You know, I'm saying about people feeling isolated. Well, actually, we're in a world now where we can become even more and more isolated. We can just jump on our phones, we can go on the internet, but, you know, we can just stay at home. We don't even have to go shopping out to go and get our own food. We can have it delivered. We can have everything in a way that we don't actually have to interact with many people anymore, which only makes the problem so much worse. So let's talk about why we are feeling this way, because this is super, super important. When we don't have awareness, we can't have compassion for ourselves and we can't make any changes. And awareness precedes change. So like we cannot make those changes unless we are aware. And if we're constantly beating ourselves up about this and being negative Nancy's towards ourselves all the time, we're never going to get anywhere with ourselves. So the first thing we would obviously say, coming from our background, is hormones. You know, and another thing I would say is there is so much chat out there about menopause, not so much about andropause, but menopause, it's not just down to your hormones, people. Like, everyone's just saying, oh, you're feeling this way because your hormones. It's not just that. It's very multi-layered, and we're going to go into that as well. But I do want to start on hormones because it can feel you can feel like a stranger in your own skin. Your body's changing, your emotions are changing, even like your mental well-being's changing, you're not sleeping. There's so much that's happening because of the shift in your hormones at midlife. So it's really, really good to educate yourself, and that's what we do with our clients. Really good to educate yourself about what's going on with those hormones and how to make lifestyle adjustments in your body, your mind, and your soul to start elevating how you feel.
Yeah, I think it's really important to say here, you know, whether you're male or female, you know, the effects of these hormones are going to affect things like, you know, your ability to focus, your drive, your motivation, your energy levels. Now, of course, if those things are all dropping, then it's easy to feel like you're just drifting through life, dropping. So understanding what's going on with the hormones is going to bring compassion to it. And, you know, there are things you can do with lifestyle adjustments to help, you know, boost those hormone levels, help optimize your hormone health. But then it's about understanding like the psychological effects that those hormones are having and doing the psychological work as well. You know, going through the mindset reps, we call it, to actually change your psychology for the better, because we're kind of degrading our psychology as we age if we don't do something about it. You know, our levels of neurotransmitters are changing, levels of hormones are changing. And the net effect of that, if we leave it unaddressed, is to make us more anxious, less confident, lower energy. So we want to understand that and then take steps to alleviate that.
And we're going to go through some of those as well. But also, you know, I don't want to go into this next point too much because we have the most amazing expert who actually wrote the book, The Happiness Curve, come on to our podcast. We had an interview with him last week, so I'm not quite sure when that's going to go live, but I think ASAP, because it's so poignant and so important for us all to hear what he has to say. But there is actually, across the board, in all cultures across the world, there is a dip in happiness as we go into our 40s, and actually we start coming out of it in our mid-50s. And the crazy thing that is, this also happens in chimps and apes. I found that absolutely mind-blowing. So it's not just us humans are experiencing this. So I think in that owns the reason that we want to share that is we're all going through it, and it is because of the other stuff that we're going to talk about. It is a natural thing. It's kind of what we call our second adolescence. You remember when we were in our teenage years, we were trying to find our place in the world. Everything felt very confusing. And we were learning, we were growing, our body was changing because of our hormones. Well, this is exactly what's happening again when we're going into midlife. Our hormones are changing. We're going through that second adolescence. And that can feel very, very confusing. Our body's changing again. Our confidence is dropping. We're trying to find our place in the world again. So we want to change the narrative on that, and that's what the author Jonathan Rauch actually says in his book. Is we need to open up this conversation so people don't feel like they're alone, so people stop isolating themselves, because every single person, I believe, at some point are going to have these big life questions, these big changes in their emotions and their mental well-being and their physicality, that are going to start feeling like, oh my goodness, like what's the point? Where am I going in my life? Is this it? All of that kind of stuff.
At the same time, I think we need to acknowledge, socio-cultural pressures as well. We don't have to go back too far, maybe 200 years. And midlife kind of really was the beginning of the end, because people didn't tend to live that much longer. Of course, now midlife genuinely is midlife. We're living a lot longer. But what's happening in tandem with that is, age and wisdom probably isn't as valued as it used to be. We've lost our sense of community. Again, if you go back 200 years, we were living in much tighter-knit communities. There was always a focal point, be that, a church or village or town gatherings. People who had got to a certain age were really respected, revered, gone to for advice. That's kind of all broken down. So it's easy to feel like a lot of women in particular, but more and more men increasingly, talk about becoming invisible as they hit their 50s and their 60s, becoming like, I'm just an invisible person now. No one sees me. We're in a society that really values, youth and beauty for both males and females. And of course, one of the things driving that is social media. And I don't think yet we fully understand the impact of social media. I think Facebook was only around 2007, 2008, something like that, which is a blink of an eye. But clearly we have this window now into other people's lives where we can see their highlight reels, but we're only seeing what they want us to see, right? So then it's easy to sit there thinking everyone else is doing so well. It's like, the 25-year-old kid sitting on the Lamborghini parked in front of the private jet telling you that he's a millionaire, but actually, he's just rented that car for 2 hours and driven to a private airport and taken a picture in front of it, and he's actually struggling for money. It's such a untrue place, and I think the human brain hasn't yet learned how to come to terms with it.
And I also think on that side, there's almost like a lack of acceptance about our own life. I think we see what's available out there and comparing ourselves to the Joneses, and that can make us feel like we haven't got enough. Like there's not enough. We're coming from a very place of lack rather than a place of scarcity, rather than a place of abundance. So we're constantly thinking, and that makes us not accepting of where we're at, because I could have this, I could have that, I should have this, I should have that. And that makes us operate from a very, very ungrateful place, a very ungrateful place from what we actually do have. Our ancestors, when you look back, they had nothing of what we have. And in fact, the science is that the more we have, and the more the Western world is growing and the more luxurious our lives are, the more unhappy we are. It is because we're seeing all of this stuff and we are realising that we're falling short. Like, that's it. I'm falling short. I can't get there. I'm supposed to be positive. I'm supposed to be wealthy. I'm supposed to be this. Like, all the shoulds that we fill ourselves with is exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. And it makes us feel like we are not enough. And so we are not accepting of what we do have. And that level of peace and acceptance for what we do have is what actually can start to heal us at this time of life. Actually being grateful for what we do have. This is going to be some of our tips. But also our values change. Another thing I would say is in our teens, our 20s, our 30s, our values would be very, very different. It's climbing the ladder, more of a place of competitiveness, and less of a place of connection and community. But when we get to our 40s and our 50s, our midlife, that seems to become more important. The research seems like that starts to change. Our values about climbing their ladder, that egotistical, and there's nothing wrong with being like that, but that egotistical fight, the striving and everything, well, actually we get to midlife, and because of these massive questions we're experiencing, our values start to change, and we wonder why we feel a bit off. It's because our life, the way we're living it, isn't in line with the values that we have and how they've changed.
I'd say another thing that happens is, we end up, if not sleepwalking through our life, at least being slightly unaware of how we're behaving and showing up in the world. We may be falling into patterns that suited us as we went through a phase of life, like, getting the kids ready for school, going to work, coming back. But it could be like a lot of things have changed, like your career's changed, the kids have left home, so they've gone off to college or, gone to move to their own house. And you can feel like you're then not supported by the way that you're living your life, but you might not know how to change it. And it's really important to make sure, and we're going to come on to this now, that your life structure, your routines are actually supporting what you want to achieve and how you want to live your life. And it's okay if that has changed over time, because your priorities would have changed. So, of course, the way we're living needs to change as well to match that.
Yeah, and that, we kind of have said this, but that lack of prioritising ourselves, like we don't even know what that looks like. We've completely forgotten what it looks like to prioritise ourselves. And again, there's that guilt of, oh my goodness, what am I going to have to drop? What plate am I going to have to drop that I'm spinning in order to prioritise my own mental, physical and emotional well-being, like my spiritual health? What am I going to have to give up? How will that affect everyone else? We've really, really forgotten that actually, once we are able to prioritise our own mental and physical well-being, it enhances every other area of our life. But we need support in doing that because we don't even know what that looks like. We've totally lost our self-confidence, we've lost our self-identity, and we've lost that motivation to actually start something new. And we become, like, that's the thing, we become very insular. When we're younger, we're constantly seeking new environments, new things to do. We're much more open. But as we've got older, because we've been so kind of regimented with all these things in our life, we've closed our world down, really made it quite small. And so when we're being asked in our 40s all these difficult questions inside our own heart and our own mind, it's like, well, how do I even open myself up again? I don't even know how to make my world bigger, and it's frightening. I'm frightened to open up my world again and make a change and prioritise myself. Let alone the fact that, our career, we're kind of thinking, oh my goodness, I might have another 10 years left in my career. I might have 5. What and who am I after my career? So all of these things we wanted to cover off. There are a myriad of reasons that we might be feeling this kind of malaise at midlife, this fear at midlife, this anxiety at midlife. We wanted to cover off why we're feeling like that. And now...
And let you know that it's okay to feel like that, and you're not alone in feeling like that, right? That's the really important point.
I really hope that some of that has just resonated with you, and I'm like, honestly, on that TikTok video, it's like, my goodness, you're speaking to me. Like, this is so amazing. I'm so glad that I've come across this, and this is what we need. We need community, and that is one of our top ones. Our top tips, but actually, where do I go from here? Okay, Claire and James, you've told us all about like what's going on here, why I'm feeling like this, but what do I do?
Yeah, let's come on to what you can do. It's about taking control of your life again, right?
Yes.
It's about prioritising yourself and actually taking responsibility for where you are and where you want to go. Because we can all play the poor me story, but actually, if we carry on doing that, we're not empowering ourselves to make change. So it's about saying, okay, this is where I am now. The past is the past. This is where I want to go. So how do I get there? We say the first thing is, get yourself in a supportive community. Like, have you become insular? If you have, start to get out there. Whether that's just, start speaking to people when you see them in the shops, when you're out and about. Find interest groups that you're interested in, dancing, running, whatever. Join them. If you want to, look for a mentor, someone that can actually give you guidance on this. Take up new hobbies. That's a great thing. It helps you with your brain aging, right? So as we age, the other thing that's happening is our brain is getting smaller and smaller. It's atrophying, but it's shown that when we do learn new skills, that it actually helps maintain our brain structure for much longer. So we want to go out and learn new things. If you've ever wanted to dance, go to the dance class, learn to play bridge, learn to play darts, go to the bingo. Whatever you think might light you up, go and try it, and that will also tick the community box as well.
Yeah, and I would say about the community thing, it is. Listen, we're not saying Because it can be, if you're here right now and you're isolated, you're depressed and you're low, it's obviously probably a step too far to go into a new group and join a community and put yourself out there. Like James said, it could be something very, very small. Instead of ordering your shopping in, going out and actually getting your shopping. Actually have a look at your life and think, where am I isolating myself, where possibly I could expand myself? Are there things that I'm doing that's actually making this isolation worse for me? And how could I start connecting with other people? One of the beautiful things is about social media, it's a negative and a positive, is the fact that one of the positives is there are communities. Like, we have the most incredible midlife community. We have our free Facebook group that you can join, the Midlife Mentors community. We have this podcast that we really, really hope shares so much no-nonsense kind of like approach to midlife health and happiness in a really authentic, funny, light-hearted way. But there are communities out there are people like us that really, really want to serve you, to help you. So please, please, please don't think you have to go and join a big community. You have to do something large. You don't. Just go and look at your life. Take stock of your life and think, where could I actually just get out a little bit more rather than isolating myself?
Look at your routine and how that's supporting you, or maybe currently not supporting you, right? 'Cause that's really important. Part of our hard wiring as human beings is to feel secure. And part of that is certainty, perceived certainty, which we get from having a routine. So look at your days, look at your weeks. How do you want to divide them up so that you're getting the maximum benefit for you? You know, what's taking you towards your goals? What's building that community in for you? What's giving you joy? Build that in your routine. If you get up every day and you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing today, might just, of course, it's going to feel like you're drifting through life. Of course it is. What if you get up and you're like, oh, today's the day I go and see my friends for a coffee. Today's the day I go to the gym. Today's the day I go for a walk. If you've got it laid out, you're going to feel supported by it. It's also going to soothe your subconscious, lower things like your anxiety levels as well. So make a routine that is supporting you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so, so true. It will really help you feel safer with the routine. Focus on your health as well. So this is one of our biggest, I suppose, tips really, is you've got to start moving your body in some way to shift this negative emotion, this negative mindset that you're in. Because we know 100% through science, right, that when we move our body and we start connecting with our body again, we actually create feel-good endorphins in our body. We start to elevate our mood. When we don't focus on our health, we basically, we know to our own self that we're disrespecting our body. When we're not kind to our body and we're not valuing our body, something feels really amiss. And we are supposed to move our bodies. We're supposed to connect with our body. So start looking after your health. Go and exercise. And I don't mean go out there and do a massive run, not at all. But what I'm saying is go outside, get some fresh air and walk. And then pick it up from there, because that will give you some focus, that will give you some routine, that will give you some self-respect, that will give you some motivation, that will start momentum going. And from that point, your mood will elevate. You actually feel like you've got a bit of a purpose. Here's the thing, when we're like this, we don't feel like we have a purpose. Even adding in, looking after yourself a bit better is a purpose. Looking after what you're eating. And then
I would say that's so important. Right? You know, if you're sitting there shoveling in processed food, you are going to feel terrible. There's lots of research on this. You know, our gut biomes are actually largely responsible for our mood. If we're eating food that's not supporting our gut biomes, if we're eating processed foods high in sugars, then we're going to feel anxious and depressed. But if we're eating like whole foods, we're going to be healthier anyway. We're going to boost our immune system. We're going to boost those gut biomes, right? So we're going to get elevated mood. So we need to be nourishing ourselves in the right way. So yeah, moving your body and looking after what you're putting into it as well.
And I just want to add that this is something that when I was on antidepressants years and years and years ago after my second divorce, this is what made me want to go into this industry, into this field, because I wasn't always in this. It was only after my second divorce. It was actually not wanting to be on antidepressants for the rest of my life, and it was looking at my exercise. I wasn't exercising, looking at how I could exercise, looking at how I could nourish my body, looking at how I could cut back on some of those addictive behaviours like drinking so much alcohol, eating junk food. You know, it was that really helped me get my power back, get routine, get some self-respect back, get some motivation. It was that one piece. Forget everything else. It was that that really, really helped me move on in my life piece by piece. And those little things build up incrementally. This is what we always say. You don't have to go out there and say, I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to set myself this goal. No, it's actually better to take little habits, incremental habits, do it over time, and then they build up to something massive. But again, don't expect the quick fix. This is what we always see in society. Oh, it's going to be quick, it's going to be easy. No, it's not. But little by little, you will start improving your mental health.
And talking of mental health, like this is something you have to actively work on. This is another area people go wrong, right? They might start with the physical stuff, like watching what they eat, moving more, but they neglect to actually go through mental exercises that are going to boost their psychology. Because again, it's a fact. As we age, there's things going on with our brain structure, our neurochemistry, with our hormones that are going to make us more averse to risk, are going to make us more fearful, are going to make us more prone to anxiety, are going to lower our confidence levels. So we need to be aware of that and work on stuff that's going to flip that around. So we want to think about our values. Are we living our values? What lights us up? What do we want to do? We want to make sure that we're imbuing gratitude into everything we do, like waking up and going, right, actually, what am I grateful for today? And again, there is so much research on this from the schools of positive psychology that a simple gratitude practice really changes people's focus from obstacle to opportunity, boosts their well-being overall, and they have a better health outcomes, everything. And it's so simple to do.
Can I just add to that? You can't be depressed and grateful
at
the same time. They are opposing states. So if you just think about that, I cannot be grateful and depressed at the same time. So I know if I just keep focusing on gratitude, that depression is going to start to alleviate.
Get yourself a good morning routine. Now, this doesn't have to be something exhaustive. Again, you see Instagrammers going, here's what I do in the morning. It's like 6 hours of stuff. Not feasible. Also, they're lying. Just get something that will take you maybe something between 5 to 20 minutes to do. It might like just journaling, like how do you feel when you wake up? What are your dreams from last night? What are you grateful for from the day before? What are you grateful for in your life generally? Maybe do a little visualization. That's a really powerful one. We do that all the time. Future rehearsal. See yourself having achieved your goal in the future. Small things you can do that will just start your day the right way before you let in the outside world.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so powerful. And like James said, it doesn't have to take long. That's like a 5 or 10 minute thing, but just get in the practice and you'll start really noticing a massive shift. Less news and less social media is what we would say. We are bombarded constantly with negative noise all the time. It's not just the news, it's not just the papers, it's not just switching on the TV. It is constant. It's, just listening to someone's radio that they're listening to as you walk past them on the street, like all these subliminal messages that we don't even necessarily know that we're being filled with. So what we can do, we can't stop that necessarily, but what we can do is really be careful about what we feed ourselves. And I don't mean food. I mean like what our ears take in, what our eyes take in. Be really careful and be boundaried about that. I don't watch the news. People take the mickey out of me for that. James does more frequently than I. I don't read the newspapers. I don't listen to the news. On social media now, I've cut down. If something annoys me, I just get rid of that person on my social media account. Even on Facebook and stuff, I just get rid of it. Because guess what? It's my responsibility. I'm in control of what I see. I'm in control of what I let in to my eyes, what I have in my ears, what I have in my head. And social media, if I notice for a moment that I'm getting stuck in what I call a scroll hole, I'm like, right, move, Claire. Do something else. Get off social media, go and read your book. Just anything to distract myself in a more positive way to what I'm doing on social media, because I don't want the comparison. I don't want the not enoughness. I don't want all of that negativity in my life.
The last point I'd say is just stop taking it all so seriously. As far as we know, we've got one life, so let's just enjoy it, right? Go back to what brings you joy. What's going to light you up? You don't have to drift through your days just aimlessly. Do stuff that lights you up, reignites your passion for life, brings you joy, connects you with other people, and just have fun.
Yeah, and I would say to this, some people find this. I just want to give you a tip that I use to really sometimes get myself out of a funk. So I like to imagine my deathbed. How depressing does that sound? But actually, it's really sobering. I find it really sobering when something's really upsetting me, or I'm making too big a deal out of something, like something's really worrying me, or I'm being really anxious. I'm like, on my deathbed, when I'm taking my last 3 breaths, is that really going to matter? What would I prefer to look back on at this moment in time and see me do? What would I rather see me do here? I would rather be grateful. I'd rather be in joy. I'd rather not make a big deal out of this. I'd rather just do what I can and let it go. Because here's the thing, like, I don't want all these regrets of kind of being anxious and worrying about what ifs all the time. This is a precious, precious gift of life that we have. We really, really do. Let's not take this so seriously. The most important things that we can ever do is to really appreciate our life, to be grateful for this life that we have, to be grateful that we have people that love us in our life. And the simple things. We have overcomplicated life so very, very much in the Western world about all these other things that should make us happy. But actually, the things that should make us happy are very, very simple. Nature, loving other people, just reading on a sunny week, having the sun on our face, all these small things. So just go and start doing the smaller things.
Listen, we hope you found that helpful. We hope you don't feel as alone now. We hope you understand more why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So do get in touch with us. You can email us, team@themidlifementors.com. You can hop onto our socials and drop us messages there. And all that remains to say is thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much.
If you liked it, please tell your friends, share, drop us a 5-star review, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, sending you so much love. Take care.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the Midlife Mentors with Claire and James Davis.
We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line at info@themidlifementors.com with any questions or topic suggestions.
And make sure you join us on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can find us under the Midlife Mentors.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.